Hello ladies and gentlemen, and welcome to the School of Science. My name is Luke and this is the Bramley-Moore project. Now before we kick things off, I'd just like to say a big thank you, a big hello to Alan, who I met today while I was over at Bramley-Moore. Alan is a big fan of the channel, and apparently his family out in Yorkshire are also a big fan of the channel as well. So I'd like to say hello to Alan and his family, and I hope you guys are all doing well. Now looking over on the East Stand and the Fan Plaza area, the development is definitely coming along. Now it's very difficult to see from the air, but down below you can definitely see everything coming together. Now Nick from Mr. Drone UK actually made this statement today. Apparently how he mentioned it is East and West Stand, they are definitely coming along very well. They are becoming like superstructures now. They're almost halfway to the height of the corner chunks. So if you've got your your southwest, southeast, those corners there where the stairwells are, they are getting close to that height. So at that point, I wouldn't be surprised if we start seeing some steel coming along there in the near future. Now, in terms of South Stand, now just as a quick heads up, because the weather was actually quite decent today, I have got a far off view and a close up view for this one. So when we look at this one, you're going to notice that one's far away and one's a little bit closer, so you'll see things in more detail. But the South Stand is definitely coming along. There are little pieces being added here, there and everywhere. There's more white steel coming along there, so that's going to be the outside stuff that's going to be sticking out. And everything is still just progressing for the roof to be put along. So what's going to probably happen in the near future, we will probably start seeing the roof coming on. Now the thing is though, the way the roof is designed, one of the main points, so the big point where the arch is, that's going to go into place, and that's pretty much 1/3 of it done already. So what you'll probably see is one day we're going to come around here and you're going to see that up, and it's going to be arching across the middle, and we're just going to have little end caps, so they're just going to be added to the ends for the final little 2/3, and they're the one points that we're going to be focusing on. So once they're on, it's full steam ahead. But the thing is, once they're on, I think they'll probably have the edge stuff put on, and then from there they'll have to stop and focus on the East and the West Stand, because just for the fact that they haven't got the steel up there, there isn't like the roof stuff there, like as you can see here where you've got your white upright steel pieces, they are going to support the roof structure. They don't have them on the East and West Stand. So what will happen is you'll have the framework done, then the East and West Stand will get done, so we'll probably have like the concrete like little stairways where the seats are going to be. Then you'll probably see the steel coming up around the back, and then from there chances are that's when the roof stuff will be done, and then it's going to be a little bit more difficult to actually get drone footage, so that's going to suck. That is one thing to actually note. Once the East and West Stands are up, it's going to obscure a few things. Now granted, we can still see a lot from this right now. I do make an effort to do a far off view so you can actually see the front of the North Stand as well as the rear of the South Stand, and vice versa. When I do these, I do that, and it was initially unintentional, but it's just worked out in that sort of way. Now we're going to be going over to the West Stand now. So again, like the East Stand, the progress on the West Stand has been magnificent. Also, I'm just going to have a little divergence here, because last week we did actually have a little meeting. It's been mentioned by quite a few of the other drone pilots. So we did have a meeting midway through last week, where we discussed what was going on around the site, and it was pretty straightforward, to tell you the God's honest truth. Pretty much Darren, as well as one of the representatives, I'm not sure whether he was a representative from Lango-Rake, but there was another person in there who was representing both Everton and Lango-Rake, if I'm not mistaken. And they basically said, the guys that are in there, so it was myself, Paul, Mark Thomas, Nick from Mr. Drone UK, and one other. I can't remember who the other one is. I do apologise as a heads up. I'm sorry, I can't remember who you are. But they said, you guys, you've no issue. Baz as well came in later, and he was part of that. He said, we've got no issue with you guys. You're doing good by it. You're sticking to the rules. You're sticking to time frames. But unfortunately, they're not going to be able to do midweek, because apparently when the drone is flying around the area, even when we're off-site, it can be a distraction to some of the workers. Now, there have been a couple of drone pilots, and I've made quite clear to a few people I'm unhappy about it, and they're flying on site and they're ducking and weaving and diving around the cranes. Now that is a massive no-no, especially when the cranes are in operation, you do not go anywhere near the site. If you see them cranes moving around and you want to get some up high shots, great. You're more than welcome to do that, but do it from a safe distance. You'll see the perimeter of the site on the map. If you've got a DJI drone, you'll see that on the map itself, there's a perimeter. Stick outside of it. Like right now, where I am, I'm halfway over Wellington Dock while I'm flying right now. Also, just as a quick heads up, you can actually notice in the north stand here, they've got like a little piece that's been added on top, so that's probably going to be the progress point from here on in for the north stand. So you probably see like the little white beams that are sticking up high, and they've got like a little cross member going across them. So that's probably going to be where the supporting structure is going to be for the roof truss. So that's going to probably hold up the roof truss. Also, you won't see them just yet, but there are gaps in the north and south stand where there's going to be supporting structures that are temporary for the roofs. So those are ones of note, and they were the ones that a few fans were worried about being permanent structures. Don't worry, there's going to be no obstructive views in the stadium, but if you want to get the Goodison feeling, I do recommend getting a cardboard tube and putting it in front of your face when you're at the ground. That will give you the Goodison feeling. I'm just saying that for fun. But yeah, just to reiterate what I was saying about the meeting, they basically said midweek stuff needs to come to an end. If they're operating on the weekends, try and do it early morning or late in the evening, just while the site is not in operation, or when it's ended or ending. Like when you can see people leaving the site, they're probably going to be a little bit more lenient towards that. Likewise, at the very beginning of the morning, when people are coming to the site, there's probably like a very small gap of time where you're able to fly around and be quick about it. But again, if you fly a drone and you watch my content and you're flying it around Bramley-Moore, thank you very much for doing this, because obviously a lot of the fans rely on not just us in Everton, but anyone who's able to pass out information about what's going on, because this is monumentous for not only the club but also the city, because as I've reiterated to many people in the past, this isn't just Everton's new ground, this is a piece of history in the making. This ground will be big for when it comes to other sports events. You could have many different sports events at this, because it's going to be a modular sort of stadium for that regard, and it's going to be good for music events, it's going to be good for boxing, UFC, most sports that you can think of. They utilise that sort of space that you can use for a football pitch, whether it be a little bit bigger or a little bit smaller, doesn't matter, they can utilise it. So this is the sort of stuff that you are basically contributing to. And just this alone, apparently there's been a lot of people who are coming around England to actually see the progress. According to a few people I've spoken to, they've actually come from around the UK. I've had people like from London, Southampton, Manchester, Ireland, Scotland. There's been a lot of people who've come to see this because it is a monumentous thing, and it's going to be one of the main pieces of the waterfront for the future. But in any case, guys, today has been a bit of a ramble one. I do apologise about that, but I hope you guys have enjoyed it, and I am now going to take you into the outro, so I hope you guys enjoy the rest of your week, and I'll see you in the next video. Peace. Thank you very much for watching this video, guys. If you liked it, don't forget to like, share, and subscribe. Also, I'd like to say a big thank you to all my patrons. Now, unfortunately, the Patreon is going to be closing in 2 weeks. So don't forget, guys, if you go over to the YouTube membership, you can still get the perks and benefits that you had on the Patreon. Those being, if you're part of the Cup of Coffee tier, it's essentially just like the £1 donation. You know, the old back pocket, pounds, coffee, that sort of thing. It is basically that. We also have got the £3 School Science Superfan tier. So what normally happens is once the Patreon closes down and the YouTube membership kicks off again, we're going to basically get the whole sidebar thing back up again once we get some Patreon members or new YouTube membership members going again. So we'll have it again. It will basically be over here as we've done last time. So yeah, if you want to be part of the School of Science Superfan now, it has got 3 sort of little perks and benefits. You get early access to ad-free content, and your name in the banner as well. And some of the little bits and pieces they're going to be adding later on down the line. Now, when I say early access, this pretty much means it's going to be Bramley-Moore as well as the podcast when that gets kicking off. Now, I am planning on getting that kicked off in November. We have got 3 people lined up. I have already spoken to 1 person about the whole podcasting, and we have done the podcast. So what it's going to be is it's essentially just going to be a blank screen, essentially, with the podcast logo. And a bit of a sideway thing, because with these podcasts, they go from anywhere between half an hour to an hour. I unfortunately would not be able to get them into the studio or the office because this office is only 2 meter by 2.3 meter. It is essentially, if I was to put all of my acoustic paneling around this place, it would essentially just be a recording room. So yeah. So what we're going to be doing for the first and early iteration of it, we are going to be doing it where it's just audio only. But as time goes on, as it gains in popularity, if I can find out whether it's popular or not, or whether people actually enjoy it, if people do enjoy it and it gains traction, gets more popular, gets more funding, we can get sponsors, I can then start doing things like getting it into a live stage where we can actually, well, a live studio, where we can have like a table. I have me on one side, I have them on the other side. We have 2 individual microphones, a couple of cameras, and we can get like a proper conversation going, and it goes something. Now, I think another example for it, if you've ever seen the Joe Rogan podcast, I want to do something similar to that, where you've got a nice table in the middle, you've got one person on one side, the other person on the other, a little bit of a little decal in the background. There is a big image inside this noggin of mine that I want to do for if I was to ever do a podcast, because I need so many interesting and brilliant Evertonians. I want to get them on this stage where if they've got something that they want to spread to the world, you know, like, let's say, for argument's sake, Yandelf, if he does a lot of stuff when it comes to like Everton, like he does a lot of his spoken word stuff, and it's actually given him a lot of traction with Everton Football Club because of some of his poems he actually puts out there are absolutely brilliant. So someone like that coming onto the channel, giving them that little bit of an extra boost onto the channel so you guys can actually see them, spread their name across other platforms and everything like that, and help them grow. That's essentially what it's going to be, as well as raising awareness. So for the likes of the Rainbow Toffees, for example, I am currently working with Paul right now. I want to try and get things done where I can get him on the channel as well to talk about what the Rainbow Toffees are doing, where they're playing, if they want to try and get a little bit, you know, get some messaging out there, to say the very least. I'm trying to think of the right way to say this. So yeah. So if, let's say for argument's sake, if I was to get Paul on the channel from the Rainbow Toffees, get him on the channel, have him talk about it. Let's say they're playing a game against one of the celebrity teams, so we're able to advertise that. Then you guys can say, oh, I was around the area around that time. I could go watch them, because don't forget, I play for them as well. So if you wanted to see me play absolutely terribly, why not? But yeah, it's essentially like that. I want to try and get people on the channel, let them talk about their brands. We can have a good little back and forth. You guys can enjoy it, and you gain something from it because you've got an extra little avenue that you can go to then to watch videos, consume their content, or support their cause. That's what I want to do with the podcast in that regard. But in any case, guys, that has been an absolute true and utter ramble. I do apologise about that. This is one of the things about the channel. It's almost like its little charm. I do ramble, but you get little factoids in between it. So like when it comes to this video, you'll probably find like it's probably about 30% facts about the stadium, a little bit of rambling in between. It's basically that. And I know that you guys do enjoy that, because otherwise this channel would have died a long time ago. But in any case, guys, I'd like to thank you all so much for watching, and I'm going to see you all next video. Peace.